An exploration of trauma, transformation, and triumph. Your healing starts here. Welcome back to Through the Trauma podcast. I am Amber Larkins, your host, and today I have a very special treat for you guys. If you've ever struggled with self-limiting mindsets, this is going to be the episode for you. My guest is a certified hypnotherapist. She is a transformational coach. She's an expert in NLP. She's also an entrepreneur, a speaker, and has worked in the real estate business, built multi-million-dollar businesses inside of there, and helped clients do the same. So help me welcome Miss Amanda Howard.
You, Amber. I'm so excited to be here, really.
Your work is extensive, and I'm so excited to get into talking a little bit more with you about everything that you do and everything that you offer and kind of how you got into this space.
What I find that most people know me through is real estate, because I've done that for over 2 decades. I've been building businesses, leading teams, and helping thousands of families find their homes. But the story that we're here to talk about today isn't really about real estate. It's about what happened when success and fulfillment stopped being the same thing, and what I had to do to find my way back to myself.
Oh, I always love when guests come on and they talk about their story, and they have these stories that can really resonate with my listeners. But what motivated you to get into this space? Because I think that it carries a lot of weight, what you do. But then when you can learn the person behind it and the reasoning why you jumped into something like this, I think it just kind of puts fuel to the fire. So
Right.
can you talk to us a little bit about what led you here to the NLP space, hypnotherapy, and just wanting to help women in general?
Sure. Well, it started with me realizing that I did have a trauma that had happened, but it was different than what other people I had heard of had. So I didn't identify it as trauma at first. My trauma was more identity erosion. And so what's interesting is that there was no single moment that I can point to. There was no day that I can say, this is what happened. And honestly, I think that's what made it harder to see, because from the outside, everything looked great. Everything looked successful. I would hide it. So I would act like everything was fine. I was receiving awards. My business is thriving. I have a wonderful family who I'm very close with. But internally, I was exhausted in a way that sleep just couldn't fix. And I was questioning decisions that I would have made confidently years prior. And somewhere in the middle of it all, I just stopped recognizing myself. I stopped trusting myself, and I pulled back from people that I loved, and they started getting worried. But it was really a difficult time where I then started thinking, well, I've always been that person. I've always been a person who just builds things. I built brokerages. I helped other people build their brokerages. I have invested in multiple businesses, and I love creating opportunities for agents, for families, for my community. I love what I did. I was driven, I was capable, and I genuinely cared about people around me. That woman and that version of me, it was just hard for me to find again, because I really did. I had lost her, and I wasn't sure what to do.
Do you think this came from years of working so hard and being successful that you lost yourself in that? Or do you think it was from something else?
I do believe it was a slow accumulation. That every responsibility I took on, every person who needed an answer, every decision that rested on my shoulders, I became the person that everyone counted on, which sounds like a compliment. And for a long time, it was. But what actually happened was that I was outsourcing my energy to everyone. I was giving everything away and leaving nothing for myself. So I stopped asking what I needed. And I'm not even sure that I would have known what to how to answer that question.
Then you wouldn't have known,
Yes,
or
then
even
I would
now.
not.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because I've just become so disconnected from myself that I started questioning my own judgment, not just in business, but in everything in my entire life. I even started questioning my marriage, and I had a great, solid marriage. It's just when you get to that point, I think, Amber, when you lose yourself so deeply, you're just grasping at anything that you can, saying, how can I find myself again? And I could see how that would be the unraveling, and I had seen it unravel other people that were very important to me in my life, where I saw, divorces happen that probably were not necessary. I saw suicide that certainly was not necessary. I felt like I was going down that path where I was going to be that person because I was unraveling inside, but while outside, everyone publicly thought I was holding it all together. Everything was great. And because I was the person that always likes to solve problems, I actually finally did stop and self reflect and think, what can I do to solve this problem? And so that's when I actually pursued neurological help, because I literally and sincerely thought that I was losing my mind. I thought there was something cognitively wrong with me.
I think this is something that a lot of women struggle with, especially I think as we get older, we start to look and we see those areas where we're not fulfilled, and we have a choice. We can either decide to do something about that and like figure out where that's coming from, what that is, and how to set boundaries and things around those areas,
Right.
or we can just become bitter and just go through the motions. And I think you and I both align with this idea that I don't want to see women ever just think that this is just how it is. Like, we
Right.
can always be better and fight through these things. And I love the fact that you're being so vulnerable and sharing these things, because I think so many other women struggle with this too. And
Oh,
the beautiful thing is that you actually have a solution
yeah.
to this, which we're going to get into as well. But it's a thing that's common among women. Do you find that in your work and in your clientele? Because I know you work with women. Do you work with men as well, but
I
primarily
do.
women?
I with my coaching practice, so I started with just one particular container for coaching, which was helping entrepreneurial women that were looking successful from the outside, but struggling with burnout, exhaustion, decision making. They were like, I'm just ready to burn my whole business down, even after they worked so hard to build it. So that first container, I was only working with women, and I still am in that container because it's a very powerful one, where it's helping these successful women transform their lives back to being happy again and fulfilled again, and not having to burn everything down to get there. Um, but I am also offering coaching now for men and women. But that's been through other passions of really careers and hypnotherapy, because I honestly had so many women coming to me saying, after we had a deep hypnotherapy session that would reveal things that they just were shocked by themselves, they would share that with their husbands, of course, and their husbands are like, my goodness, I think I could actually benefit from this too. Now, for before, I was only working with men when it came to enhanced performance, helping people stop smoking or get over phobias, because there's so many amazing possibilities with hypnotherapy and so many great solutions. But I didn't realize that I could work one on one with men the same way I could with women, because with us, we emotionally connect. Like I feel you, I see you,
Hmm.
I get where you're coming from. I didn't, honestly, I didn't think men would have those same kind of emotions. And I do see that differently now, because I've had some amazing encounters with these men who are strong enough to say, I think I might need to just calm down for a minute and be in a safe place where I can actually think. And that's honestly what this is with hypnotherapy. It's
Yeah.
giving you the opportunity to slow down, be in a safe place, and allow your mind to think, because I don't know the full story, and I don't need to know the full story of whatever the back route or what you know to be happening in your life. I just need to know what your goal is, what you want to achieve. The mind needs a target. So I just need to know what is it that you want to get to, and then I can just guide you, and then their mind does the work for them.
I'm a little bit familiar with hypnotherapy. I'm more familiar with NLP, which you and I've spoken about that. But for my audience, can you talk a little bit about what is hypnotherapy? And obviously, some of the benefits, which we've just touched on, there's so many benefits from it. But can you talk a little bit about, like, educate my audience just a little bit about what that is?
Sure. What hypnotherapy really is allowing your mind to go into a trance-like state. And we all have, I call it the monkey mind. We all are busy. We all have a running to-do list, and we're always thinking and we're processing. We're like thinking about the last conversation I just had, and we're thinking ahead to the grocery list. And what do we need to do to pick up for the kids? And what do we need to make for dinner? And are we going to be doing something this weekend with the family? You're always thinking about something or a new creative project. So when you can actually allow your mind to slow down, that's when you can go into the subconscious. And the subconscious is the part of your mind where it's an amazing part because it controls most of your decision making. It controls 80% of your decision making. I shouldn't say it's the majority. And the way God has created it is that our little small monkey minds are so busy creating and being the creative, making the to-do list, moving things forward. We kind of, here's a good example. When we go to the grocery store and we know we've got our to-do list, but we suddenly find ourselves on an aisle and we have no idea how we got there, what we were doing, what are we looking for on this aisle. That's when you were allowing your monkey mind to slow down and you were allowed to daydream. You were allowed to just relax. That's a trance-like state. When you're watching a movie and you get so involved and engrossed into the movie that you love this character and something happens to them that is exciting or scary or sad, you feel those emotions right there with them. That is a trance-like state. And politicians use it all the time. They use NLP. They'll use a little bit of hypnotherapy just to be able to get you into a story frame that kind of just puts you at peace, puts you at ease. And then your mind starts to sit back and think and reflect and go, do I believe this? Do I enjoy this? Do I want this? And your subconscious is always there to protect you. That's an important thing to note, because when we are a child, we think as a child. And some things that when we were a child, we were told, and there's so many examples, but they just weren't true. And they meant well. It came from a parent, a pastor, a well-meaning friend, a teacher. They had good intentions behind it to keep you safe or to keep you protected or to keep you within their what they felt was their boundary of safety. But ultimately, it wasn't true. And when you can stop and reflect on it as a grown woman and remember clearly when that core memory started or that core lesson was learned, you look at it differently. And once you know the reality, you know the truth, you can't unknow that truth. So in counseling, if you keep repeating the same pattern and you know what the pattern is, and you know exactly how to frame it even clinically to express it and identify it in someone else, but you can't seem to get rid of it, it's because it's a deep-rooted belief or block or pattern in your subconscious that doesn't know how, because your subconscious is continuously using that same pattern as a protection mechanism for you, and it doesn't know that it's hurting you.
So this brings an interesting question. Say that you have a self-limiting thought that has ailed you for years, right? It's been in the background, playing in the background, and you've struggled with this for years. Is hypnotherapy the only modality to use for this, or are there other ways to break that self-limiting mindset?
You can use meditation as a great way, and affirmations. Sometimes it's I know for me, it is something that I did when I was working on myself and wanting to get myself out of that state. Once I, spoke to um, the doctors who said your mind is completely whole, Amanda. You nothing wrong with you. Your brain literally has too many tabs open. It's a computer. You have too many tabs open. You need to shut them down. They told me start practicing meditation and breath work. So that was my first start. That was what I went down the road with first to learn. And it helped for a little while. And I don't know why. And I've heard it works great for some people. And I 100% still believe in it because there's a science behind it. There's a reason why meditation, affirmations, and breath work does work. It works with your mind and your body together. But I still could only go so far before I was still hitting a block or a wall, and I would still keep coming back to the same patterns. And that's when I did search out additional help. I went down so many roads and so many chapters that we'd be here for hours. But ultimately, I learned so many lessons from all of them. I had some that I won't revisit. I'm glad I did. I now understand it, but I don't want to revisit. And then there's others that were so powerful, such as when I learned about hypnotherapy, that I said, I want to explore this further because this makes sense for me. I felt the impact. I am now integrated. I don't stand here as someone who's figured it all out. I just stand here as someone who feels whole again. I can make decisions differently now. I lead differently. My family is happy. My friends are like, oh my gosh, the old Amanda's back again. Hearing those things that I didn't even think they saw, and hearing that reflected back to me, it told me I was on the right path. And then I couldn't stop it myself. I wanted to then help other people. I'm like, everybody should know about this. And it is, I wouldn't say it's a difficult training, but it is a long training, and understandably so. You have to have a passion for it. You have to have a drive for it. And I was open. I was driven. I was excited. And I've been so thankful for the opportunities that I was already a coach and a teacher, that now I'm just able to add it as another tool in my belt to help people.
Yeah. Well, I was curious because there's a hypnotherapist that I've been watching a little bit on YouTube, and I've been impressed by how quickly that works. And I mean, obviously, I have a trauma podcast. I talk to lots of therapists and doctors and specialists and experts, and they all have different modalities. Obviously, different people are different. We find what works for us. But it seems to me like, and again, coming from someone who doesn't really know a lot about hypnotherapy, but it seems like it's one of the fastest, like, modalities to get deep, like to go super deep in
Right.
what's ingrained in the mind. Layers, maybe, like, I guess what I'm trying to say, there's layers to everything, and it just seems like that gets right to the root of it.
The root. It is shocking to me how quickly it works. When I went into it, I was skeptical. I'm skeptical about everything that's going to be new. So I was skeptical, and I was, then I was skeptical that it was going to work on someone else. I was like, well, maybe I'm unique. We all think that, I think. And I love the women who come into me that are skeptical, and the men as well. The men are almost always skeptical, but not all women are. Some women come in saying, I have a track record that they knew me, they trusted me. They're like, I'm open, I'm ready. But I just met with a woman yesterday she told me afterwards she was skeptical, but we know when someone's skeptical. So I knew she came in skeptical, and she, shared her story with me, and she's like, I've done everything. I've done plant medicines. I've seen therapists. It just nothing's going to work, and it's okay, Amanda. Don't be hurt if you can't fix me. And I'm like, I'm not here to fix you. I'm only here to guide you. If you don't want to be fixed, you're not going to be fixed, because that's the other thing, is you have to want this. Just like a perfect example is that for a smoker, if a smoker comes in to see me but doesn't actually want to quit smoking, they're not going to quit smoking. But if they actually want to quit smoking, they just can't stop. They just have this constant draw. Then I'm able to help them. So you have to want it. And so I did tell her this afterwards. It was almost, it made me laugh. I had to laugh because she is a funny person. Her reaction was like, I cannot believe this. This is crazy. I am going to go tell my husband about this. He definitely needs to get in here. He's got some stuff to work on. But she pulled out a memory that she said she had never thought of before. Never. But she said she saw it clear as day, as if she was there. And she knew exactly what that root word was. And it was a word she said, I never use that. But that was the thing that she kept reflecting back, and it was affecting so many things in her life that was making her a harder person and a more stoic person. And she didn't want that anymore. She wanted to be who she was, a true, kind, loving, empathetic woman. And yeah, it was just a moment in time in middle school that suddenly came back to her, and then she was able to laugh about it. Of I can't believe she still even remembers the people that were there. She's still in touch with some of them. She's like, this is crazy.
So how does this bridge with NLP? Because NLP there is slightly different. So maybe we should start by sharing like exactly what's your definition of NLP, so for my audience,
Yes.
and then kind of what that bridge looks like.
So NLP is neuro-linguistic patterns or programs. Some people say patterns or programs. And it's using your words to articulate a way for your brain to think of something. And with hypnotherapy, a lot of some of it, I'm helping someone just get into a relaxed state. But depending on what the need is, I might need to mix up the neural patterns of the brain to confuse you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's purposeful. And the reason behind it is if the pattern keeps going in one direction, it's like walking through snow. You just keep making the same path over and over, and it'll keep getting deeper and deeper. And it's more comfortable because you're on that same path. But then if somebody says you need to now veer left, but you're trudging through a high stack of snow that's just thick and it's deep and it's harder to get through, it's not comfortable. And so you may just come back. And your subconscious and the way your neural patterns of your brain works, it's going to go on the path of least resistance. It's going to go on the path it knows because, again, safety and security is keeping you safe. That's all it knows. So you just need sometimes something that like mixes it up, confuses the pattern, brushes that snow out so it loses the pathway, and then it can then stop and go, wait a second, is there a new map? Is there a new program? Is there new information to help keep me safe?
That's a great explanation and such a great visual as well. Because as you're talking, I'm imagining, like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think some of my self-limiting mindsets, like that is what it's been like. Literally, literally, I can see myself like trying to turn that curve or make that change or cut that corner. And it's like, you have to climb back out of that canyon before you can go in the right direction. And it's so hard. It is, I think changing self limiting mindsets is one of the hardest things that you could ever do. And a lot of times people don't realize that that's what's keeping them stuck. So awareness is the first key. Once people can realize, okay, this is that I have something that's keeping me stuck. And then the second awareness is this is what's keeping me stuck. Because that's a whole thing in and of itself, is figuring out what it is. Like the lady that you described, she has this word that she didn't even know. She just knows she has these problems. She has no idea where they're rooted from. And then once you do know where it's rooted from, then trying to turn that boat around and go the opposite way is hard. Or at least been my experience with self-limiting mindsets. And it's been one of those things that I'm, mid 40s, and I have fought hard. I would say probably the last 7 or 8 years to like shift some mindsets. And it's been a challenge.
It is for many people. And again, it's because there's a reason why our mind is doing that. And it really is to protect you. I guess now, because I've been doing it long enough, I can almost presume what it's probably going to be. Because when they tell me what it is that they want to achieve and what they keep doing, that is self-sabotaging themselves in doing it. Then it helps me also understand that's probably going to be the path I'm going to need to go on as I'm guiding them on their own mental journey. Because sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because you see it, but your job as a guide is to get them to see it and realize it.
Yes,
because it's
I'm
one
not
thing.
here to give that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not here to give that guidance, because my guidance might be stopping too short, and I don't want that. It just helps me in telling my story to them of what they need to be visualizing to help them, and knowing what language I need to use to help them go down that path. Because what I did think about this last night as I was thinking about this client and preparing for another one this morning. I don't know that I have used the same story and pattern on two different people. I feel like every time I've learned the processes, I've learned the methodologies, I know what to do, and there's multiple. But every time I talk to a woman or a man that I'm sitting with, I feel my intuition is telling me this is what they need. And so I trust it, because every time I trust it, I've been surprised at their response. I always have that, the hope is that they get what they want from this, ultimately, is all I care about. And then when I hear the responses, and that's what makes it all worth it. And that's why I don't think I've been able to do the same thing twice, because each person is so unique.
Just by you saying that, you're probably gifted to do this. Like, some people, you can learn the skill of it, and then some people are just truly gifted and they have that intuition, or that gut instinct that leads you to know what this person needs. And so I think that's a beautiful thing, and you're probably right where you need to be. I think if you love it, then that really says you're right where you need to be, and I think you do. I'm just curious. I'm going to give you an example, and you tell me if I'm off the cuff or if this sounds accurate to you. And this is actually a personal example. This is something that I do struggle with a lot. I think that procrastination is one of the things. Like, I'm the worst. I think I have like an ADHD brain or a ADD. What is it? Anyway.
Yeah. One's supposed to be hyperactive, one is not. And I was like, I get it. I am as
Mine's
well.
Hyperactive. Mine's all over the place. Like, I'll come up with an idea and then I'm like a squirrel. Like, I'm over in here doing this idea, and then I get distracted and do this idea. And I have a friend, and we chat about this, and we're like, we're both this way. Like, I can start cleaning one room and I go to put something away in another room, and then I'm cleaning. But I'm really bad with procrastination with this too, because what'll happen, I know I need to get something done. You used the example of the computer tabs being open.
Yep.
So literally, I will sit down at my computer, like, I don't know, 10 or 20 tabs open. I'm like, okay, I need to do this thing, and I have to find the tab. So I'm clicking on tabs, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot I got to do this thing. And oh, I forgot I got to do this thing. And oh, something pops in my head. I need to go do this right now. And so I'm all over the place. But I have thought long and hard, like, because this is one of those things that you're just like, I hate this part about me. Like, why do I do that? And I know I do it. There's an awareness there, but I don't know why. And I'll get distracted. And before I realize it, I'm off to another task. And I think it comes from fear. I think personally, for me, it's been fear. And I don't know sometimes exactly what that fear is. Maybe it's fear of success. Maybe it's fear of judgment. Maybe it's whatever, but there's a certain level of fear that comes with that. So I'm curious, when you have someone that sits down with you, they say, hey, look, I'm struggling with this one thing. Is that how you get to the bottom of it, by talking with them first and then figuring out the thing that was rooted that's causing that?
It depends on if it's a coaching session or if it's a hypnotherapy session. So for you, like what you were talking about, that would be most likely a coaching session. And so I have an outline that they've already completed, they've filled out. So I have an idea. But there's always, when people answer that, just as this morning, it was something similar to this, that the woman came in and she's all over the place and she filled out this outline and she answered beautifully. In fact, she was so well articulated. I had to compliment her. I'm like, you are an amazing writer. You can tell stories very well and you're very self aware. So you're not coming to me for a self aware problem that we need to coach you through. And she was like, she goes, I am a good writer. And yes, I am very self aware. And I said, but what I do see is something else. And while she has all these things that she's doing and caring for, I said, my biggest question is you, once we help you create the architecture around what you want to do with your life, we have to do the bio audit, is what I call it. I do a biology audit on you. Then we create the architecture after your bio audit because it always changes what you want to do with your business. So then we create the architecture around your business. The problem is now going to be that you're not going to be so busy. You're not going to have so many tabs open. You're not going to have people needing you. What's going to happen to you? What are you going to do now with that time? And that, how are you going to feel about that? And she literally broke down. And it's our first coaching session. But it gave us the good framework of knowing, okay, we need to work on this first. And which it always comes down to is we always need to work on us first. So I knew we needed to do the biology, but we didn't even get into deep biology before having enough questions from her and knowing enough information for me to say, we need to know who are you without being busy? And is being busy keeping you from that self-reflection time so you can know who you are again?
Yeah. When you say biology, are you saying that you look at like blood work and things like that, or you just look at?
I do. I work alongside or I refer to a doctor who does, the lab work. We need to know their hormone levels. We need to know how is their thyroid functioning. We need to know a complete workup. As women, we change.
Yeah.
And a lot of the women that I'm working with are from that ages of like 38 to 55. This woman just happened to be 60, but it doesn't matter. We're all about that same. She thankfully had her blood work and labs, but half of the questions I asked, she hadn't had checked. So she's going to go get those checked now. It's really important for us as women to have a full lab panel done so that we can first ensure that we are solid medically and clear minded before we can make a decision. Because what if, our hormones being off is affecting our business? Of course, it is affecting our business, it's affecting our life, but we need us clear first. And then we can jump into our mindset of the way we think and process. And once we're clear there, then we can move on to the business, because you honestly are not. Sometimes we're creating a business based off of a goal that a family member gave us when we were a child. That we're like, oh yeah, that's what they said was successful. So now I believe that's successful. But once you can clear everything out and say who you really are and reconnect to that little girl inside you of what makes you happy, what makes you grow, what makes you excited, what makes you run and play, what makes you excited, or passionate, I should say, then sometimes that success looks different.
Yeah. So what you're describing, there's a holistic approach, and our bodies, we are human, which we are holistic. All of these things are factors. How much of that do you believe starts in the mind, though? Like, I know that you kind of touched on starting on in the biology, but is there a certain thing? I guess there has to be the awareness first for someone to even call you and say, hey, I'm having an issue. But I guess the question I'm asking you is this: if someone is struggling, like someone's listening to this and they're struggling back and forth, and I get a lot of the same audience, the women that are struggling through this middle age
Yes.
time. But you have someone struggling, it's like where do I apply my focus first? Obviously, there's things biology wise that we
Mhm.
can try to fix because those things, like you said, can change. And so many things go into that as well. It's not just it's the medication we're taking, the food we're eating, the water we're drinking, like all the things. But then you also have to work on the mind. So is this like a simultaneous thing, or is this something that you would tell someone focus on one or the other first?
It's for sure simultaneous. It makes me happy if someone has taken the initiative to go get a full panel done prior. Um, I just check because it's necessary, and some people just don't realize how important it is and how it can affect you. So that's why I've made sure I partnered with a doctor that I knew I could get them in pretty quickly. And
Mhm.
but that's still it's an identifier. It's not even a solution. It's an identifier, and then we have to work on the solution, which that can take sometimes 90 days for us to get our hormones back in balance and those kinds of things. So for us, what we can control, what we can work on is our mind. And so I think the first thing that we need to do is to always see how you feel when you are silent, when you're completely alone, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation, whether it's just going on a walk. And if you're fighting against it, just, you don't, there's no wrong answer. Just ask yourself why and just talk to yourself. And if you're having trouble, then definitely seek at somebody who can help you talk to yourself. But honestly, it's just talk to yourself. Just get
Mhm.
quiet, give yourself some time, minimum 15 minutes at minimum. I mean, you are the most precious thing. So give yourself that time.
Mhm. That's a great advice because a lot of people don't. We're busy constantly.
Right.
And when we're not busy, we fill that time in with social media or television or news. News will really lead you down the rabbit hole. But there's so many things that we're distracted with. Slowing down is so important. We don't do that nearly enough. I don't. I strive to do that because, like you were saying when we first jumped on here, meditation is so important.
I now protect it. It is something that I covet it. I enjoy it. I love my time with myself. But it's funny that when I do think back to, you know, 2019, I didn't even like going for walks because I didn't know what to do. I always had to listen to a podcast or, be doing something, call my mom. I was doing something. I was handling a to-do list. I never would just walk in silence.
Mhm.
And now my husband is like, "Are you leaving again?" Like, I just need just 10 minutes just to, I need to just have some, I need some my own clarity. And he gets it now.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
just need 10 minutes. And he knows that means there's too much going on and I need to silence myself and know what I want to do next.
Yeah. Yeah. And something else that you were talking about earlier about the client that you had that fills with everything and what happens when you take away those things and you're not filled with all those things anymore.
Mhm.
I think that can be a fear as well, like a subconscious fear of being needed, and I don't know. I'm not an empty nester. My kids are still young. I mean, I have an 11 and a 14-year-old, but I think about this because they're at an age where they're wanting to go out with their friends more. And
Mhm.
so I'm getting a glimpse here and there of like empty nesting, I guess, where they're both gone over the weekend, say. And then I'm just like, oh my
Right.
gosh, like now my kids are gone. Like, who am I? And I think women can get attached to certain things and relationships to where you're left asking that question, who am I without this dynamic in my life constantly? It's a hard thing to navigate things, and I'm sure men do too. I don't know. I'm not a man. I can't speak to
Right,
that.
right, right. And Amber, what's interesting is when your kids get into high school, you're going to see this even more. I know I did. And I feel bad now that I was someone who judged these moms who I would see them, all their kids are going off to college or, just one at a time. They're going off to college. I say all these kids, but they're going off to college and you can see the moms just starting to get fearful and they're clinging onto their kids and they're crying all the time. And they're literally telling their children, don't leave me. I'm going to be so sad when you're gone because I heard it firsthand from my daughter's friends. And my daughters would ask me, "What's wrong with you? Why are you not crying, mom? Why everybody else's mom's sad and you're excited?" Because I was like, I did my best to raise you well, to be good, contributing humans to society. Now you need to show me how did I do? Go, little bird, I will miss you, I'm sure, but give me the opportunity to miss you. And so that was kind of a running joke with both my girls because I couldn't wait for them to go on so I could be an empty nester. But it was a poor judgment I was making because I had replaced it with my business. I did the same thing. So women, I think it's more common than I even had originally realized because it's not just women in business. It's that example that you just gave beautifully, Amber, of women who are now, they were a stay-at-home mom and now they're an empty nester and they're like, who am I anymore without being the caretaker and the caregiver and driving them to all of their events and making sure everybody has the right amount of food in the house and the right nutrition. And it's they lose themselves. So I think we as women, we pour into something. We love to take care or build something, and then that becomes our identity.
Oh, and I'm glad you brought that up about identity, because I've done a extensive thought around identity and around purpose specifically. When I got divorced from my kid's dad, and that's been 8 years ago, and I went on this growth journey.
Yeah.
Because there again, that's another
Yeah.
situation where you're like, okay, I'm used to this kind of relationship, and now I don't have that. So now I've got
Right.
to relearn who I am. I've got to figure out, like, what does life look like now as a single mom versus as a as in a married, household. And it's just, I think these are things, I wish these things were spoken about more. I feel like we live in an age, like I said, of social media where everyone puts all the highlights and we don't talk about the hard things that people go through. I think we're getting more
Mm-hmm.
with platforms like this where we can chat more about these things. But I don't think it's something that people think that they're just supposed to just go through the motions, I guess. And then when it hits and it's like, then it's you and you're trying to shift your identity, you're like, I feel blindsided. Or at least that's how I felt, because I was like, no one ever talked about this. No one ever talked about what this is like and all of the challenges that come along with this. Like, and maybe they did. Maybe it's one of those things you focus on it and that's what you attract or whatever. I
Yes.
don't know. For me I was blindsided, and I just often wonder, is it going to be like that when this shift happens, when the kids leave and grow up and go away? Is that going to be another shift where I'm like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that."
Yeah. Let me be your spoiler alert, Amber. Every time we have a change of chapter in our life, it's going to feel, yeah, you're going to question your identity. And so it's going to be when you get married the first time, when you have children, you're now a mother, that's a new identity. When you get a divorce, unfortunately, it's like, now who am I without that relationship? When you get remarried again, you're learning this new human that you had just adjusted and you feel like comfortable in this new identity, but now you're taking in someone else that probably has other additional families that you now have to change the identity a little bit for. It seems like and then of course, empty nester. And then unfortunately, there is also death in families that happen, and that changes an identity again. Whenever there's a change in pattern, this is something that I've taught on for decades, which is personality profiling. Our personalities will adjust for 6 months after any major change in your life. And that's even moving states. As much as that doesn't seem like that would, it would be moving states, marriage, child, having a child, divorce, and
Death.
death.
Death
I'm
in the
sorry, I
family.
was like, where I know that every time, all of those are life changing moments where we question our identity. And if you're taking any kind of personality test, doesn't matter which kind you choose, you will rate differently as soon right after that happens, that life change happens, and you'll be misreading for 6 months because it takes you 6 months to recalibrate into the new life that you are now living.
So this is interesting, but I have this question specifically pertaining to identity. What about those people that say, I'm going to take the initiative to shift my identity? Like you take someone that maybe has been obese their entire life and then now they want to lose weight and they get in great shape and now they're competing in bodybuilding or
Yes.
these huge transformational things that someone decides to do. Um it's a process. Like, walk me through kind of what that looks like for someone because this idea of identity fascinates me.
So what I have seen is when you make that change, and that is a great one, because I've seen this happen twice personally with people that I'm close with, where they made that decision, and and I love that when someone makes a hard line in the sand. This is a new decision. There is nothing more strong and sexy to me than seeing a woman who does that. That's taking control of your life. So good for you. But the problem is you are so focused, and it's not a problem, it's just the reality of it is you are so focused on you now and what you've got to do that you're unfortunately getting beat up from every other which side, from your friends who are mad that you are no longer doing the same things, the activities that you were doing with them. You know, it could be going out for ice cream, it could be, going and getting drunk all the time. You're not doing the same things anymore. You've got a spouse many times who is questioning why is now suddenly the time that you're getting all hot and pulling yourself together. Are you looking at somebody else? Are you interested in someone else? Or do you find me unattractive now? Am I going to have to start changing? And your parents are going to start questioning, wait, what was wrong with the way I raised you? Did you not love the way I raised you? I feel what I have observed. I don't know if this is for everyone, but I have a feeling it probably is. I feel like these women are already focused on themselves, which is a lot. That's a big decision to make that drastic of a change. And you should be focusing on yourself. And it's hard because you have so many people around you that are, I just call them putting blocks on you or punching you, where they're just like, they're burdening you with more and more things. And you really have to learn or have someone to guide you into putting a protective boundary around you and letting them know with love, this is me, this is my decision. And I'm sorry you feel like it's affecting you personally, but it's not meant to affect you personally. It's meant to be making me better and making me whole and making me healthy and making me to be a better friend and a better wife and a better mother and a better daughter. I want to be a better person. Can you please support me through this path? And once they have that really good heart to heart talk with them, if they're a good spouse, a good friend, your children and parents are definitely going to support you when they hear you say something like that. But if it's a good spouse and a good friend, they're going to stay with you. They're going to support you. And if they're not, it might have been a reason to shed them anyway. It might have just been a time. And, some people come into our life for a reason, a season, a lesson, and some stay forever. But, that's just part of life. But just stay centered and focused on you and what's best for you. Because trust me, your children and your parents will still be there.
Do you think that anybody can make an identity shift at any time?
Absolutely.
Just with a decision?
Oh, 100%.
And a lot of work.
Yes.
And some hypnotherapy.
It's a commitment.
Maybe.
Yes, it's a commitment. It's a commitment.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful because I feel like that gives people hope. And we've talked about a lot of different things in this last hour, but it's like what I think is so valuable is that women and men, but I'm going to speak to women, are struggling through different things.
Mhm.
And in that, though, they are given a roadmap or at least hope in saying like, hey, there is hope for this. You can shift your identity at any point in your life. And there are tactics and tools and tricks and modalities and things that you can do on your own. But then when you can't get there, that's why we have people like Amanda who can help you dig down the layers deep and figure out how to get there. So I think your work is beautiful, and I know you've done this for quite some time now, and You've had your own journey, and that's beautiful as well because it makes you a lot more relatable. But why don't you tell my audience just a little bit about how to get in contact with you? Should someone say, "Hey, I want to work with her," or "I want to hypnotize me"?
Sure, sure. Well, I have a website, amandahoward.net, and I also am on Instagram. I have Amanda Howard Official for my hypnotherapy and coaching side of things. For my personal life and real estate side of things, it's just Amanda S. Howard. But usually, if somebody goes to Amanda Howard, they should be able to see me on Instagram. But Amber, I did think about the the listeners that you have here, and I created something. It was actually at New Year's of this year, so it was December of 2025, but it was for some women I was working with that I just felt like I needed to. I felt led to do a workshop. So it was to help people get clarity around what they wanted going into the new year and what they wanted to just kind of let go.
Mhm.
And so I called it the Clarity Reset. And so I put together something for you and your listeners. So I would love to be able to share that with them as just
Yeah.
something that's designed just to help them create that moment of quiet and allow them the peace to be able to think. And it's just 10 minutes, but it's almost like meditation, but I am using some hypnotherapy throughout to help them with calming their nervous system, get out of that fight or flight mode and into that calm clarity. And then I added a worksheet with 5 simple prompts to help you identify the root of whatever that mental clutter might be or help you start making decisions from a grounded place.
Yeah. And we're going to put that in the show notes. So if that's something that you want to get your hands on, then go down to the show notes and there'll be a link there to go to Amanda's workshop. I'm going to check it out myself because now I'm excited about learning more about it. And, I just think we always have room to grow. This is something that life is a journey and we're always trying to grow and become better. And one thing with trauma is trauma can embed itself at any layer. There can be so many layers to it. And sometimes getting to the end or the root of things takes a lifetime. Takes time. Because I think that it's and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think sometimes you have to work on this level before you can go way down to this level. Like there's
Oh,
a process to these things.
there absolutely is. Because I know I worked on so many levels. I mean, spent 3 years going to workshops, going to women's retreats, and I felt like each time I learned something, it uncovered a different layer, and that was fascinating and beautiful. But there's a root. And what
Mhm.
you want to do is you really would like to just jump to the root. When you talked about the speed, um, you can do things slowly or you can do them quickly. But either way, it doesn't make it easier. It still gives you something to work on.
Mhm. And I know you work with athletes and things too,
Mm,
and into fitness yourself. And I like to contribute everything back to fitness. It's like you can't go from 200 pounds to 100 pounds overnight. You just can't.
right.
You can make that decision. You can start walking and talking and living like that, that person that's smaller or whatever. But it's still a process to get there. And I think I found in self growth it to be just like fitness. I can't build a muscle overnight. I can decide that I'm going to do that and I can start making choices to do that, but it's still a process that I got to go through.
I love that. It's funny that almost with, I mean, in every aspect of my coaching, since I cover, from entrepreneurial, real estate, or hypnotherapy, I relate it back to nutrition or fitness in some way as well because it's so true. You have to track everything. It's a process. It takes time, and you need to be tracking things. So things like journaling, like if we're tracking our macros, we can say, "Oh yeah, I'm doing my best to stay at 2,300 calories, and I want to have 60 grams of protein a day, and I'm eyeballing it." It's so different from the difference in our body composition from eyeballing it versus actually measuring. It's night and day, and it takes time. It's a process, but
Mhm.
tracking is an important aspect. both mentally and physically.
Yeah. Especially, I think, if you're trying to make goals, like if you're trying
Yes.
to make a change in that area, it is a necessity. It's vital that you do that.
Right.
And I hate tracking. Yeah, I
I
hate
know.
tracking macros.
I do not. It's definitely not my favorite thing to do. But I know when I have to, I have to. When I'm like, okay, I'm getting a little, I'm not where I want to be. And like
Right.
eyeballing it isn't working anymore. I'm going to go back to tracking because clearly my eyeballs have gotten a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think the beautiful thing is this: we can set a goal. We can say, okay, I'm going to hit that goal. Like, I've been into fitness for years, and I'll set a goal and be like, I'm going to lose weight and get lean or whatever. And then I can pretty much reverse out of that and hold that for a really long time.
Mhm.
And I do think other things are like that too. And if I'm going to work really hard to raise a certain amount of money in my business, okay,
Mhm.
I know that I'm going to do that. And then maybe I can not have to be as you know, obsessed with it for a little bit of time. But I think there again, life is holistic, and it's all about deciding, okay, where am I going to apply my focus? Don't be like me, a squirrel all over the place. Apply your focus. I'm working really hard to do that, actually. So, um, but it's one of those things where it's like I think focus is 100% important. Tracking is important,
Yeah.
and choice, just making the choice that you're going to do something, and then the confidence to stick through it till the end, till it's done.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, it's been awesome talking with you, Amanda. Do you have any like final takeaway or anything you really want to leave my audience with before we close up?
Sure, Amber. I would say that you can achieve every goal that you set out to achieve, and you can win every award and build every business, check every box, and still wake up feeling disconnected from yourself. And when you do feel that way, I just want the listeners to understand that that's not a failure of ambition, and it's just what it really is. It's a failure to stay in a relationship with yourself while you're doing everything else. And I hope that they take that time to work on their own relationship, work on the relationship with themselves, and find time to get quiet and think about what it is that they want.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, it has been such a pleasure talking with you today, and I think you have so much value. We probably didn't even scratch the surface to all of the things that we could talk about. But thank you so much for spending your hour here with us and sharing your expertise with my audience.
It was my pleasure, Amber. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey there, friend. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending this time here with us on Through the Trauma podcast. Your presence means more than you know. If this episode has spoke to you or gave you hope or made you feel just a little bit less alone, then I would love it if you would take a second, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who truly needs to hear it. Every share, every comment, every listen, it all helps our message get out and reach those who truly need it the most. Healing happens inside of a community, and together we are breaking the silence and creating space for transformation. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You are not alone.